Hey, what's up guys? This is Anthony from Anthony's Customs, and for this review, we are looking at the Storm Collectibles Muhammad Ali, the greatest action figure. They did make a distinction between the greatest and action figure, but I think that's still funny that it's on the packaging. I get why it's on the packaging, you don't have to explain it, but it is still funny that you might be able to construe the advertising as the greatest action figure. Maybe it is, I don't know. There's some stuff to talk about, so let's go ahead and get him off the stand and take a closer look. This guy stands just about 7 3/4 inches tall, which makes him just about 19.5 centimeters, so he's relatively large, but it's okay, it fits in line well enough with their other figures. And he does come with a bathrobe. Now I know it's not actually a bathrobe, it's an accurate robe for what he wore when he wore this type of robe. The scaling on the actual cloth material is not very good, so it does come off looking a bit like a bathrobe. There's nothing I guess they could really do with that, except they could have spent like a whole lot of money and made like a whole new material that they could have used to kind of look like this, but I'll give it to him. It's well enough done. I don't know that many people would actually pose him like this anyway, but it is there. If you want it, you do get that, and I'm not going to bother going through that in the accessory section because we already talked about it. But as far as bathrobe looking boxing robes go, this is well enough done that I don't have a problem with it. As far as the rest of the aesthetic on the figure, it is pretty good. There's a little bit of an issue, and I didn't notice it until it was under these lights, that the chest is slightly different color than the other parts of the body, and that's because it's a different material. I don't know that you'll notice it with the naked eye and normal everyday lighting. The harsh studio lights really bring out differences in most plastics, so that's why that's happening. You might be okay with it with the naked eye. Like I said, I didn't even notice it until I got it over here, so don't worry about it too much. Oddly enough, the nipples are painted really nicely, and that sounds like a weird thing to say, but sometimes they're not centered properly, or they're just kind of like airbrushed airbrushed poofs, and these are not that. They did a good job, so I'll give them that. There is some shading throughout the skin, so that's nice. The what do you call the boxer? What do they call it? Because they're not. Are they boots? Do boxers call them boots? Because they're taller than shoes. The boxer shoes are really nicely detailed. That's good. The gloves look really good, and the face is exceptionally good. It looks a lot like him, very much like him. Nicely painted, nicely sculpted. It's very, very impressive. Like I couldn't care less about boxers, honestly. I mean, like I don't care about real people. that sounds terrible. As far as collecting goes, I don't care about real people. That's what I meant to say. Like the whole Hot Toys thing, it just doesn't do it for me. Same thing with this. Like he's a real person, so I don't care. I prefer fake people because otherwise it's awkward. Anyway, this is exceptionally good, and it's making me wanna put it on my shelf even though it's a real person. That's what I'm getting at in a long rambly sort of way. So aesthetically speaking, this thing gets a 9.5 out of 10. It's exceptionally well done, and I'm gonna excuse the plastics. I don't think it's super noticeable under normal conditions. So very nicely done aesthetically speaking. As far as accessories, I already talked about the robe. We only have a few different heads. We have the neutral head that comes on him in the package. Then we have one where he's making like an angry face, and that's sculpted really well. And then we have one where he is yelling, and that is also sculpted really, really well. And they're all painted really nicely too. So accessory-wise, I'm going to give him a 7 out of 10 because he does have the robe too. So bonus points for that. And now it's time to talk about the articulation, which is pretty much your standard fare for Storm, but we'll go through it anyway. We have our double ball peg for the neck, which moves around nicely, very organic looking. I love that. Very well done. Very, very well done. Ball peg for the shoulder connecting to the torso, moves around fine. This is just a floating piece that hides the joint. Ball hinge for the shoulder is a little stiff, but it does function. Make sure you kind of put some pressure down here though when you do it if yours is stiff, because you don't want to just crank on it and snap something. But it is functional. That feels like it might loosen up too, so that's okay. Full rotation, of course, it's just a ball peg in there. Bicep swivel it's a little stiff just because of the way the tricep comes up over the deltoid, which makes it look better obviously, but as you rotate it, you come with some bumping issues, but that's okay. I mean, that's pretty standard. Double jointed elbow, a little bit better than 90 degrees, not by much though, but probably enough. And then you have for your wrist, you have your ball hinge with your straight peg. The ball peg that's back here doesn't really do anything on this guy, or the Mike Tyson for that matter, but you can still use that ball hinge because the gloves are fairly soft. You won't be able to get a ton of range out of it, but you will be able to pose it some. For the upper torso, well, it's a double ball peg for sure, and you have a lot of gapping. You can kind of hide that gapping a little bit, but it's going to look a little weird. So you probably don't want to really utilize that joint to its fullest potential, you get a buttload of range, like an incredible amount. So as long as you pose it properly, if you want that range, you do have it, but there's a large amount of gapping. So be aware of that, but you do get really, really good posability out of it. So that's one of those trade-offs that you have to decide on what you want. And as you can see, the chest is a floating piece, so that's why it moves around so nicely. And so, of course, you do get your rotation out of that. For the lower torso, you have another ball peg. His is a little bit less functional than Tyson's, but since the upper one is more functional, I guess that works out. But you do get good range going forward. Not the best going back. Side to side is pretty good. And then you do have your rotation. His trunks are realistic, just like Tyson's, so they do have the elastic waistband, and they have nice material and nice detailing. That's good. They do move no problem, so when you want to bring the legs up, you can do that. Almost full-on splits, so that's very nice. And then you can also, of course, raise the leg really far, and going back really far. This guy's better than Tyson, better figure anyway. I'm not talking about the person or the boxer because I couldn't care less, but figure-wise, he's seemingly more effective at just about everything than Tyson, so that's interesting. You do get a thigh swivel. Double jointed knee is pretty good, better than 90, so that's cool. Do we get a rotation at the boot? Yeah, but it seems to not want to go on either. Well, yeah, it's there. Okay, it's just because of the sculpt. It's not actually circular, you know, so that's why it's kind of fighting you. But you do get that rotation. You get a hinge going all the way back for the foot, and going forward, it does go a little bit, not a ton, but a little bit. You do get a toe hinge, and you do get an ankle rocker, which is actually pretty good already, but then with that shin swivel, very nicely executed. Toe hinge is a little floppy, so I wouldn't probably use that a whole lot, but all in all, the articulation on this guy is pretty good. I mean, definitely a lot of gapping in the torso, but you can't do anything about it when you make it that articulated. Not really anyway, so I'm gonna let that slide a little bit. So articulation on this guy gets 9 out of 10. Very, very well executed, and it looks good, and it functions well. There's not a lot you can complain about there. So overall rating on this guy is really high. It's aesthetically very pleasing. It looks like it's supposed to. It does come with some accessories. What's an accessory? Some articulation? What was I gonna say? I need more sleep. It comes with some accessories, and it poses well. There's not a whole lot more you can ask for a figure like this, so for a very basic figure, they nailed it. This figure gets a 9 out of 10. Very well done, and I think anybody who's interested in this kind of thing is gonna be very happy to buy this and to have it in their collection. So there you go, guys. Thanks for watching. If you liked this video, please give it a thumbs up. And if you did not like this video, well, go ahead and give it a thumbs up anyway, because it doesn't hurt you any. And if you didn't like it a whole lot and you really want to try to find something you like, I've got thousands of other videos on the channel, so make sure you check out those. Subscribe and come back for more, because I do have new videos up just about every single day. And you're going to find something you like here, guys. So make sure you look for it. You just have to look for it. You'll find it, I promise you. So do that. And in the meantime, keep collecting.